The Anthropocene is the time in the geological record when humans have moved the planet outside its natural limits.
That stunning scene is from Anthropocene, a documentary film exploring the jarring, sometimes startling things we do to the Earth.
Humans go from being participants in the whole Earth to being a dominant feature.
Filmmaker Jennifer Beichwal, cinematographer Nicolas Depensier, and photographer Ed Bertinsky are the artists behind it, the ones immersed in a project that's more than film.
It's a three-dimensional sculpture. It's a virtual sculpture.
It's a multimedia exhibit that scoured the planet, finding the scars on the planet, all irreversible marks of human activity. Some now displayed in ways it's as close as anyone will ever get to feeling the heat and smelling the burning of thousands of tusks in Kenya, for example. That's where our conversation started at the Art Gallery of Ontario.
It is a virtual sculpture that was made from taking thousands of photographs.
With the powerful roar of the fire, almost a groan as a constant soundtrack, the filmmakers invite you to walk up to this scene, to the thousands of tusks seized from poachers and burned, millions of dollars torched. What looks like just a photo of the pile is so much more.
Augmented reality is just one more way of pushing photography to be experiential. Like this pile doesn't exist anymore. It was burned the next day. So there's an ephemeral quality to this, but you can walk right up to it and see the writing on the tusks, the nicks on the tusks. It's incredibly high resolution.
Oh yeah, look at that.
But what it does is give you a kind of visceral understanding of this pile and the deaths of the elephants that it represents.
Is this what we're going to have to do you think, in the future? I mean, to look at elephants, to look at Palmyra in Syria, to look at what's being lost? I mean, is it going to come to this?
I think that people call VR and AR the empathy tool because it allows people to be right there, there in a way that they're not there. And so maybe it will be part of that.
This is as apocalyptic as it seems when you think of the piles burning and you see the images of the piles burning. It's actually an act of hope. This burning of the ivory tusks is a statement to poachers that there is no market for ivory, and we're taking all this ivory off the market. So it's hopeful that we won't only have to have virtual representations of elephants, that actually we'll be able to save them and stop this terrible decline.
Understandable to want to highlight the hope, but what they've undertaken tells a darker story. The scale of what humans have done is sometimes so big, you have to freeze a moment in time to really see it and really understand it. That's what Edward Bertinsky was destined to do.
I look at this and I see every magazine cover kitchen. I mean, there are kitchens all over this.
Well, this is Carrara Marble Quarry, the most famous marble in the world, and where Michelangelo would go to get his marble to do David or the Pietà. So it's world famous marble. Everybody's seen it. You know, you may not know it's from Carrara. And the interesting thing about these quarries, because there's hundreds of them on 3 mountains, the whole mountain is marble. They estimate they've only taken about 3% of it, and they've been quarrying here for 2,500 years. So the first quarrying was that long ago, pre-Christ. So there's still a lot more of it here. And in terms of extraction, I'd say it's kind of one of the more benign human extraction. Yes, it's hard on the landscape and the forests that were there, but it doesn't really, other than the burning of the CO2 to remove it, it's not really a dangerous process.
Well, if this is benign, though, there's a whole other gallery of not.
That's correct. This is one of the most contested landscapes that I've ever photographed. And contested, I mean that the history here is that in the Niger Delta, they remove about 2.5 million barrels of oil per day from the delta, which is about the same amount as is leaving Alberta every day. But what's happened is that the locals have learned through the military, it taught them how to do it, how to steal oil from the pipelines and then do what's called illegal bunkering. And it's hard to blame the community because, again,
well, they're just trying to earn a living.
And there's nothing left for them. All the wildlife's gone. You can't eat fish out of here. So all their normal practice of making a life in this area, in this delta. In fact, the delta says there are 0 wild mammals left, and it used to be one of the greatest, concentrations of wildlife in Africa. The Niger Delta is the largest delta in Africa.
And we've done that, right?
Humans have done that, yeah. In this one, so many things came together. The workers and this person had just arrived and was having a chat with them. They're recycling paper here. The bike was parked here not long ago. There's a little dog that's there. There's another 2 dogs up there, just killing time. So it was this kind of moment in this dump where there's about 6,000 people who have their daily, lives within this dump. And it's an environment where everything is just about sorting and separating colored plastics from clear plastics, or this kind of paper from that kind of paper. And you get paid by the kilogram of whatever you've separated per day. So it's a very kind of marginal existence.
Do you feel uncomfortable sometimes making terrible things look so beautiful?
Well, it's a thing that we've created. It's the other side of our lives that we just don't see. And if it wasn't, I think, visually taught and holding you there to kind of explore it, then you don't spend any time with it. It's like another everyday picture. So I want you to be drawn in, and you might not know exactly why, but there's something that draws you to the image and makes you want to go in deeper with it.
I see this and I can hear these guys arguing down here, and I don't know, I kind of want to be there.
Yeah, well, I want this to be an immersive situation where you can see life on the streets. And this image was technically very interesting in that, first I needed to find the point of view of where I wanted the image. So I had a wide angle lens on my drone. This is the whole team. So there was a New Yorker reporter, Rafi Kachadurian, and that's him. He's the reporter. That's me controlling the head.
There's your drone operator.
That's my drone operator. And these are 2 guards who are with AK-47s to protect us, and then all our cars are right here. So once we got in here, we were trying to fly the drone off here, but it was too hard to operate, so we found this rooftop. But again, the idea to come to Lagos was, currently it's the fastest growing city in Africa, but one of the fastest in the world. That's 6,000 people coming to it per day. So, and it's kind of an ad hoc city. People are just attaching themselves to the edge of the city. And they expect by 2050 to have 50 million, and by 2100, 80 million. So the idea of a city of 80 million is kind of, I just can't process.
It's impossible to fathom. It doesn't have, there's no way the infrastructure can handle it. But I guess this is the future, right? People migrating towards cities, and leaving
the countryside, because the rural areas are impoverished. They've been overgrazed, overfarmed, they're running out of water. All kinds of reasons are pushing people to the city.